All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for joining in today on Thanksgiving. Welcome to another AMA here on the Polygon Discord. Today we have the founder of Impermax with us. How are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great, thanks. And it's really a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to do this and talk about Impermax with us. But really quick before we get into that, why don't you tell us a bit about what your background is and what got you into crypto?
Yeah, sure. So my background is in computer engineering, and I got into crypto in 2017. At first, I was just investing in Bitcoin, but then after looking at the technology for just a couple of weeks, I immediately realized the potential. And then I just entered the loophole of Ethereum and DeFi, what you can build on Ethereum, Web3, and all that stuff. And yeah, here I am.
Awesome. So how did you get to founding Impermax?
So in basically in 2020, I was using Uniswap a lot, basically providing liquidity. And I realized that at the time there wasn't a way to use LP tokens as collateral or to borrow basically other coin by using LP token. So there was a big inefficiency around that. And I realized that there could be a way to create a lending protocol around LP token in order to allow for lending and borrowing and leveraging LP token. So since it didn't exist, I just decided to basically realize it.
Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. You identified like a key problem and made a perfect solution for it. So I'm wondering if you could elaborate on how the Impermax protocol itself works.
Yeah, basically it is a lending protocol built around LP token. We have many isolated pool like Uniswap, and basically it is built. Our protocol is built on top of Uniswap v2, and for each pair on Uniswap, there is a lending pool on Impermax where the LP token can be deposited as collateral, and you can borrow using the LP token. You can borrow the two tokens that make up the pair. So to do an example for the Ethereum USDC pair, you can deposit the LP token and borrow either Ethereum or USDC or both. What normally our users do is they leverage the LP token, which means borrowing both Ethereum and USDC in order to use them to provide liquidity and obtain more LP token. And what this does is that they get more exposure to the LP token, so they earn a higher yield. Like our protocol allow users to achieve leverage like 5x or 10x quite easily, which mean you multiply the yield that you earn from the LP token by 5x or 10x. And this is for the borrowers. On our protocol, you can also lend. So if you prefer, you can just lend tokens to borrower, and by doing this, you just earn a lending APR. So you earn something by not being exposed at all to impermanent loss.
So with supplying tokens for lending, would that be like really similar to how it is on something like Aave?
Yeah, it is pretty similar. The only difference at the moment is that on Impermax there are many isolated landing pool. So for instance, there are different landing pools where you can land USDC. Like on Polygon, we have at least 10 different pools where you can land USDC. And This is an architectural decision that we basically made to keep the protocol safe and more resilient and permissionless. But of course, the bad thing about this is that each pool has less liquidity because the liquidity is fragmented across different pools. So one thing that we are building right now is a lending aggregator, which will basically aggregate all these different isolated pools together. So for instance, you will be able to lend USDC to the lending aggregator, and the lending aggregator will just distribute the liquidity across the different pools. And at that point, the user experience for the lenders will be very similar to the one of Aave.
Okay, cool. That makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering also though, if you so you were mentioning that people can do leverage yield farming. Like, could you walk us through how that would work? Like, how would I enter a leveraged yield farming position on Impermax?
Yeah, of course. First, you need to obtain the LP token from the automated market maker. Then you deposit the LP token to Impermax and you click on the leverage button. You just select which kind of leverage do you want. And by doing this, you will see a pop-up which will give you an estimation of the APR that you will pay to borrow and the APR that you will earn by leverage yield farming. And then you can just open your position with a single transaction. And it is very similar to the leverage. It is basically the opposite process when you want to exit your position.
Okay, wow. So, um, if I were to enter one of these leverage farming positions, I know there's like often impermanent loss when you're providing liquidity on a Uniswap V2 style exchange. So I don't know, what are the risks associated with doing this? Like, can you get liquidated?
So yes, leverage yield farming allows you to basically earn a higher APR while also increasing your risk. So the main risk about leverage yield farming is that with leverage you also increase your impermanent loss, and there is also a liquidation range which is showed when you enter a leverage position. The main thing that Impermax does that is very useful for user is that it allows them to um, select their preferred risk to reward ratio. So basically, if a user has an high appetite for risk, he can enter a high leverage position, and by doing this, he potentially earn a lot, but it also has a high risk of impermanent loss. On the other hand, if a user want less risk but a safer yield, he can just lend his token on the platform, and by doing this, he has a lower APR but no impermanent loss at all.
Okay, awesome. That makes sense. Um, by the way, guys, if you have any questions for Simone, please feel free to just drop them in the text channel and I'll make sure to read them out. Um, and yeah, thank you, Frankie, for wishing us all a happy Thanksgiving. Um, cool. So you mentioned that this is compatible with Uniswap V2 style dexes, so I'm assuming that means you can't use it with Uniswap V3 or QuickSwap V3. What are some of the platforms that you support on Polygon? Do you support anything other than Uniswap?
Yeah, right now on Polygon we support just QuickSwap V2 and SushiSwap. And one of our main objective is to support also Uniswap v3 and v3 kind of AMMs. So we are working to implement Uniswap v3 around the end of 2023, something like that. We are starting to work on that, but that is surely our main focus at the moment because we think that in future automated market maker will move to something more similar to Uniswap v3 since it is much more capital efficient.
Yeah, that makes sense. While we're on the topic of, um, future plans and the roadmap, is there anything else you'd like to mention? Like what's in store for the future of Impermax?
Well, yeah, basically, apart from Uniswap v3, as I mentioned before, we are working on the lending aggregator, which is something that will simplify a lot the user experience. In general, our plan for the long term is to make Impermax much easier to use for the users. So apart from the lending aggregator, we are working also on other features that will make the user experience much simpler. So for instance, we are working for kind of vault strategies for the borrow side or for leveraging which will implement certain strategies like hedging on a single side or keeping a certain leverage, avoiding liquidation, stuff like that, basically.
Awesome. Yeah, that lending aggregator feature sounds really fascinating. I'm excited to um, see what that looks like. Frankie is asking leverage in the farm 2x, 5x, 10x. Um, I guess he's like just looking for some clarification on what's the max leverage.
So yeah, the max leverage depend on the single pair because each pair has a certain safety parameters. So like on more volatile pair, we suggest to enter with a lower leverage, otherwise you can get liquidated very easily. While for low volatility pair like Ethereum BTC, you can use even high leverage because the volatility is lower.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I had imagined for something like stable coins or like a liquid staking token being paired with the gas token, like Matic and Matic X, for example, like those kinds of LP positions are more stable, so you could do higher leverage on those as well. Um, cool.
Yeah, of course. For stablecoin, we supported like up to 50x leverage. So for sure.
Oh wow, that's a lot. Love to hear that. Um, I think something that's really important we haven't touched on yet is I believe it's called IBEX. Is that the token?
Yeah, that is our new token.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that token and like what makes it so important to the Impermax protocol. Like, what are the utilities of it? Can you use it in governance?
Yeah, so IBEX is basically a governance token. So the main thing that it will be used for is governance and revenue sharing. And it is fairly new. So right now there isn't any real implementation of the token with the protocol. But one of our other plan for 2023 is to implement IBEX sharing, IBEX staking, protocol revenue sharing, and so this will make the token already a lot more useful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Since we're talking about protocol revenue sharing, I'm curious, where does the protocol revenue come from?
This is very similar to other lending protocol. So basically, we keep a share of the interest that borrowers pay to lenders on the protocol. And right now, we keep something around 10 to 20% of the interest paid.
Awesome. Another question I have about the token, how can users acquire it?
Currently, it is only available to be bought on Polygon, in particular on QuickSwap. So you can just buy it on QuickSwap. If you check on our docs or our Discord channel, we have all the token address so that you don't buy the wrong token.
And then I'm wondering if you'd mind elaborating a little further on what the governance structure of Impermax would look like.
So this is something that is not really defined yet because in my opinion a DeFi protocol like Impermax before moving to a full DAO structure needs to be very big and needs to have a lot of users and a very big ecosystem built around it. Impermax is not at that stage yet, so like the governance process at the moment is quite centralized. So we, the Impermax team, are managing most of like the governance process in a centralized way. But like the idea for the long term, once Impermax become a bigger protocol, is to transition to a full DAO structure, and basically the DAO will be able to handle to manage all the parameters of the protocol, which are like the safety parameters and all that stuff. And but yeah, right now this is like very far from the reality because this will take many more months.
Yeah, that makes sense. Honestly, when you're building out a good protocol, I think it's all right for governance to kind of not be at the top of the priority list, right? Because you can just build so much faster when you don't need everyone to agree on something. Um, cool. So another question I have would be like, do you guys actually before I ask this one, I'm curious. You guys have a bounty section on your website. Would you mind explaining what that's all about?
So yeah, right now the bounty section that you see on the app is basically user can collect a bounty uh, by calling a function on the smart contract which reinvest the profits of the like the profit of the staked tokens. So, like for instance, with when QuickSwap was sharing a quick staking reward, there was a bounty to reinvest the quick reward into the LP token. So, but apart from that, at the moment, we don't have any other bounty like bug bounties or other stuff like that. But we are planning to actually introduce bug bounties once introduce the new smart contracts, like for instance, the lending aggregator.
Okay, awesome. Frankie's got a great question here. They're wondering, are there any audits in progress, completed or in the future?
Yeah, so we are audited by Certic, and we have a couple of audits which you can check in our GitHub. Personally, I think that the protocol security is our most important concern. And I think also that audit are not the most important thing, like when it comes to protocol security, because there are a lot of protocols that are audited but are being hacked like very often. So I think that shouldn't be like your main point to understand if a protocol is really safe. What you should be looking for is for how long a protocol has existed and has the protocol ever been attacked in the past. And for Impermax, this is quite good because our protocol has been live for 18 months and never been attacked. And it has also been forked by other competitors. So our smart contracts are very widely used in DeFi right now. So we can say that the core protocol is pretty safe.
Awesome. Frankie says they wholeheartedly agree with what you had to say there. So, and yeah, I too
Very
think that was
awesome.
a great answer. And you were mentioning that some people have forked Impermax, so that kind of like leads great into my next one of my next questions, which is, do you guys have any competition? And if so, like, what are your competitive advantages? What helps you to stand out from the competition?
Yeah, so thinking about competitor that have forked our smart contract, a big competitor is Tarot, which is not live on Polygon but is live on other chains. And I would say our main competitive advantage in comparison to them is that basically we are the one that builds the smart contracts and that better know how they work. And we are also able to work on a new variation of Impermax, like the implementation for Impermax of Impermax for Uniswap v3. So, like personally, I respect forks and the protocol that maybe create value by forking other protocols. But I also think that at the end of the day, the main innovation come from the native protocol, the core protocol that is really building something new.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like, it's one thing to just copy and paste someone else's code, but if you don't know how to properly maintain it, then yeah, that's not good. Especially if you don't know how like everything works properly. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely still a lot of good forks out there. But yeah, I agree with everything you had to say there for sure. Um, well, another question that I had was related to partnerships. Like, do you have any key strategic partnerships going on?
So we have a like we have a lot of partnership with other small protocols that have added their token on Impermax or they are going to add their token on Impermax. So apart from that, one of our more strategic partnership is with Polygon. So we launched on Polygon, I'd say it was around June 2021, and we've also been very close to the Polygon team. And but yeah, in general, we keep a lot of good relationship with other protocol and other players in DeFi.
Awesome. I definitely want to cycle back to Polygon as a topic, but I'm also curious, like when you look for these DeFi partnerships and which tokens to list on the platform, like what is the criteria you're looking for?
When we look for token to list on Impermax, we mainly look at the farming opportunity. So if there is a high quality token with a lot of liquidity and that at the same time users can earn a high APR on, that's the right token to add to Impermax and that's the right fit for leverage yield farming.
All right. Yeah, that makes plenty of sense. And then so you're on a variety of chains. Why did you choose these chains, and why did you specifically choose Polygon?
So yeah, we try to keep Impermax as multi-chain as possible. We want it to be available on as many chains as possible. But at the same time, since um, there are only a limited amount of chain that we can actively maintain, we try to choose high quality chains. And Polygon is an high quality chain for sure. I mean, since we launched on Polygon last year, it has always remained active. There has always been activity and demand from users for a protocol like Impermax. So I can say that when we chose to launch on Polygon more than 1 year ago, we definitely made the right choice.
Yeah, it's honestly been surreal to watch how fast Polygon has scaled up this year. It landed so many partnerships. I'm very
Yeah,
grateful.
it's great to see that.
Yeah, it's crazy though to have all this happening with the everything that's going on in the current market and all the implosions, I guess. I don't know. I'd love to hear more about like what your thoughts are on the current situation in DeFi, and if you have any advice for um, builders that are currently like navigating this.
Yeah, well, my main suggestion to builder would be just to build. This is like probably the best time of your life to build on DeFi because there isn't really any rush, there isn't any bull market that you have to deliver something really fast. We have this bear market, which we don't know how much time it will last, but probably at least many months. So this is the right time to build a high quality product, which then will could explode in the next bull market. So this is really the best time to build.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. All the noise is gone. Everyone's focusing on what's important again. Um, cool.
Yeah, and I also think that in the long term, the core fundamentals value of DeFi haven't changed. So in the long term, DeFi is still something that can be very, very big. And the implosion of also centralized counterparties is showing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think it's really like emphasizing a lot of core tenets that people have strayed away from, um, for sure. Um, well, I feel like we've actually done quite a good overview of Impermax in such a quick amount of time. I'm curious, like, is there anything that is important that we haven't talked about already?
No, I kind of agree with you. I think we cover most of the things.
Yeah, if you guys got any questions, like make sure to get them in quick. Like we're super lucky to have the founder of Impermax with us today, so it's prime time to ask those questions. Um, but where's the best place to follow up with you and get involved with Impermax?
Yeah, I'd say you would for sure want to join our community on Discord. That's the place where all the discussion and where our community is. And apart from that, if you want to check out our application, like on Polygon or on other chains, feel free to check it out. And uh, and yeah, mainly that.
Awesome. Um, well, with that said, I don't have any more questions for you. This has been an awesome AMA, and I'm really grateful for everyone that's here today. It looks like we don't have any other questions coming in. So I do have POAPs for everyone that's here today. I'll drop those links in the chat. Enough for everybody. It's only one each per link. So if you don't get one from these links that I dropped, just DM me or send me your wallet address. I'll make sure you get one. And yeah, thank you so much, Simone, for taking some time out of your day to come and speak with all of us. I really appreciate having you here.
No problem. It was my pleasure, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, anytime. I hope that we can do this again sometime that isn't a big holiday.
Yeah, would be awesome.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you again, everybody, for being here today. I'm gonna end the event now, and stick around if you're interested in a pull-up. I just dropped some links, and yeah, bye now, everyone.